my Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love.
Welcome to episode 1776 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Blue Sky Agency, the official distributor of Silent's quiet, comfortable, and customizable office pods. Create sanctuary within your workspace. Nick Ines, host of Building Toronto's Skyline and Building Success, two podcasts you ought to listen to. RecycleMyElectronics.ca, committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Today, making his Toronto Mic'd debut, it's Rudy Blair. Welcome to Toronto Mic'd, Rudy.
Hey, man, I can't believe we're doing this, especially from what happened a couple of years ago.
Can you remind me? I have no memory. What happened a couple of years ago?
Oh, I remember.
Tell me everything.
Okay, so when 680 and I parted ways, it was still a few years after that. I saw it was still Twitter, a tweet of you in a conversation with somebody else asking why I had not been on this show, and I read it wrong, but at the moment it sounded like me saying, you were saying that, oh, he's probably got better things to do than talk to somebody like me. And I was like, what the hell was that all about? And then I messaged you back, and then we were going back and forth on this because you were trying to say, what are you talking about? And I'm trying to say this.
Okay, but what did I really say? I actually don't remember this.
You know what? I think you were just saying that he just doesn't have time, but I read it.
But I probably, knowing myself and knowing what a fixture you are, and we're going to talk about 680 and everything post 680 and pre 680. But I feel like I must have asked you to be on Toronto Mic'd in the past.
You might have, and back then I was not much on social media because I was always with radio, and That's what I focused on. So people could have been messaging me 1,001 times, and I'd never see it or pay attention to
But here's what I remember. Rudy Blair, this is like therapy. We're doing this, okay? I remember it was 100 years ago, but I was invited, I was just a blogger at the time. Oh, you know what? I can't remember. I probably had the podcast Toronto Mic'd now that I think about it, but I was at a dinner theater thing. It was like a mystery thing called Mysteriously Yours.
Yes.
Does that ring a bell?
Yes, I love them. I wish they were back.
That's actually the day I first met Steve Paikin. So I'm at this thing as an influencer, and Paikin's there because he's Mr. TVO at the time. And I met you. I have distinct memories of telling you about Toronto Mic'd and inviting you on Toronto Mic'd in person at this dinner theater, Mysteriously Yours.
And that is probably true. But back then, I was not really much of people interviewing me.
I think you kind of blew me off. My memory is Rudy Blair's that ain't gonna happen or something. I got the vibes okay, Rudy's not into it, and I just sort of maybe left it.
Probably, but if I did it in a rude way, that really isn't me. It was just because everything, especially back then, everything was just so tight and so wound up and just crazy. And I was doing everything I could to, keep my head above water.
Well, listen, I want you to know, because it's good for my soul, I forgive you, Rudy Blair, for blowing me off at the Mysteriously Yours, which that might have been a decade ago now that I think about it. It was a while ago, but they gave me a hat. I had a Mysteriously Yours hat.
I've got the mug, coffee mug.
I think I got a mug too.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened to it? So that was a fun meal, and it was there's somebody murdered somebody, and we had to figure it out. But what happened? Do you know what happened to Mysteriously Yours?
You know what? Times change.
Maybe COVID killed it.
Probably. Times change. I loved it. I would go every once in a while. It was always a great meal, great show. They always sent me an invite. I would always try to go down there and support. So I love them.
So do you know why you're in the basement now making your highly anticipated Toronto Mike debut, even though we had that... I almost think it was in a bathroom we were chatting. Like, I kind of remember bumping into you maybe in the men's room at this dinner theater thing. And now we met again at David Kynes always invites me to this Hollywood suite breakfast. And I met you there. That was only a few weeks ago. And we said, let's do this.
I think a lot has to do with time because it's been 10 years. This is my anniversary, 10 years.
So 10
not
years
being at Rogers.
So 10 years of being independent.
Yes.
So you're your own boss for 10 whole years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to go back. I saw your T-shirt when I met you. So it's also a fun fact, though, that I think is kind of fun, is that this conversation we're having now is 2:22 p.m. right now. It was scheduled for noon. Like, you're over 2 hours late, Rudy Blair. Like, am I supposed to take a message from this? What's going on?
Well, it's back to keeping my head above water. I have been setting up interviews. I always set up interviews. I'm always scheduling. I'm trying to get back and being out at events. Like last night, I was at the relaunch of the Elmo Combo. I'm always
cool.
trying to be out there to put my face out there and doing as many interviews as possible. So for some reason, I had you down at 4 p.m. instead of noon, even though I did write and say...
That's Rudy. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
I saw the email thread and I said, what time would you like? And you said, noon. And I said, you got it, dude.
Yes.
And then 2 hours after that, you showed over 2 hours. So I forgive you for what happened, when 10 years ago, because it must have been crazy at Rogers. And I forgive you for what happened right now. It must be crazy working for yourself. I can't imagine what that's like.
Yes, you do, because you do it yourself, Ben. So you completely understand.
So normally when you said you're scheduling all these interviews, I know what that's like, but you're doing the interviewing typically.
Yes, I do everything. I do the interviewing. I put the interviews together.
Okay, same here. Let's keep going. You got a whole list? Let's run down. I think we're very similar. Like, I think this is long overdue because you schedule your own guest, you host it, you do the research, you do the technical part, the recording, the sharing. Like, you're a one-man operation. I'm a one-man operation. You would think we'd get along because we're both kind of fiercely independent in this crazy world.
I do believe, yes, we do get along. I think when it comes to me, sometimes people come into my life at the wrong time.
And that's what happened with us at Mysteriously Yours.
There you go. Exactly. No, and you know what? And I also, for folks who will see it on Rudy Blair Entertainment Media, rudyblairmedia.com.
Shout it out, man.
When I do red carpets, it's just me. I don't have somebody else, holding a camera or anything. I've got the camera. I got the microphone. The only thing is that you don't see me. You just see my mic flash saying Rudy Blair Entertainment.
Good. So I respect that hustle. I respect that fiercely independence. Like, I love it so much. I do the same thing. So I root for you because it's more fun to root for Rudy Blair than it is to root for Rogers. Okay? Like, I'm so sick of... I don't want to root for... It's bad enough I'm watching these Jays games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm excited to see if we can advance to the American League Championship Series. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm rooting for a Rogers property. That's where we've come to, Rudy. I noticed you got a Jays hat on. You excited?
I'm excited. Win or... I say win. But, there's always that buffer that could... happen that they don't. I still think they put on an incredible year. What a way to even enter in the post.
Well, I would have, in fact, this is a fact. In April 2025, I had this team missing the playoffs.
There you go.
And they won the pennant.
Yeah, and considering they were in last place last year. So, an incredible year.
Exceeding all expectations. Stu Stone would say this is remarkable, this performance, okay? So shout out to Rogers. We're going to get back to Rogers. I'm going to just name 4 songs, and you tell me which one best represents Rudy Blair, okay?
Ooh, okay.
Rudy Can't Fail by The Clash. Rudy Got Soul by Desmond Decker. Rudy by Supertramp, or... A Message to You, Rudy, covered by The Specials, even though it's originally by Dandy Livingstone.
The Specials. And the reason why is anytime anybody hears my name, they always mention that song. So I've always said, if I had some kind of real show, something like maybe like yours, I would probably use that as my theme song.
It's expensive to license this song. I just got ill vibe to create something original, but great song.
Great song.
And shout out to Al Grego, who, when he heard you were coming on, he said, I better play this song for you. And it's got to be the specials version. I mean, this is a cover, but I really like this version, the second wave, I guess, of ska, if you will. But a message to you, Rudy. Good to have you here. You're now in FOTM. That means friend of Toronto Mike.
Fantastic. I love it.
If you had scheduled an interview with George Clooney for noon, would you be showing up for George Clooney at 2:22? All right, that's it. I got it out of my system.
Okay.
I'm going to stop busting your chops.
That's okay.
I have a hello for you. I just recorded with Jason Portwando.
Oh, wow.
He co-hosts Donovan Bailey's podcast, and we did that yesterday morning, and I mentioned you were coming over, and he said, make sure you say hi to Rudy Blair for me. So you worked at 680 with Jason Portwando.
Yeah, no, those were good times. Crazy times, but good times. I mean, those were times when radio was still considered creative, not to what it is now.
Okay, so good. By the way, and also shout out to the man who got Jason Portwando that job at 680, my dear friend, Peter Gross.
You gotta love Peter.
Peter doesn't say hi because I forgot to tell Peter you were coming over, but you know he would have said say hi for me. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
he and I have the same birthday, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, July 21st.
Okay, that's a fun fact. He's in the FOTM Hall of Fame. Maybe one day, Rudy Blair, you will also be in the FOTM Hall of Fame. Just play your cards right, and it's all going to happen here.
Just show up on time on my interviews.
Who? I have to tell myself to get off. It's like when Gino Vanelli once told me, get off black cars already. Okay, I need to get off the fact. Rudy was late. It was an accident. Accidents happen. Rudy, who were you when you got the gig at 680? How did you get that gig? Like, take me back to Rudy Blair pre-680.
Pre-680, Rudy Blair. I'm not going to go into the college.
Well, you can.
Oh, well, if I was going to go into the college...
How much time do you have?
Well, because I don't want to make it too long, but let's put it
okay.
this way. I didn't even want really to get into radio at all. It was just something my older brother wanted to get into.
That's interesting. What did you want to get into?
I had no idea. So I got called into the guidance counselor just before graduation in high school. And they said, look, you haven't applied for anything. You got to do something. So I just said, why not radio? That was it.
Like just random. Any chance is it because you loved the sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati?
I absolutely loved that show. In fact, I am so bummed lately. I see the WKRP record player and little microphone. I wished if I had seen it back then, I would have bought that. No, I'm a big fan of the show. I think it was just something that kind of creeped in on me, and I didn't realize that I could make a contribution to not just the industry, but to actually enjoy it. So,
did you go to school for radio?
Humber College.
Humber College.
But it's funny. What I ended up doing was I went on a weekend course. They used to have this thing at Humber where you could go on Saturday and Sundays and you got a certificate instead of a diploma, and you could work during the week. So it was a 2-year course. First year, did that, worked in a factory. Second year, got a full-time job at a station called CKO that doesn't exist anymore. It was one.
Was Aaron Davis there?
Aaron Davis was there. I was her op.
See, I do my homework. Rudy,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
You were the op for Aaron. This is a young Aaron Davis, right? This is pre-CHFI Aaron Davis. And I've heard her talk about this station, which no longer exists. Was it like a news... can you explain the station to us kids?
It was a deathbed.
And
when I say that,
I
say that with respect because it was more of if you couldn't get a job anywhere else, you kind of ended up over at CKO. And if you were young getting into the business, you got your job at CKO. It was an all-news station.
Right.
And it had all the old, if you want to call them fuddy-duddy kind of announcers, but you also had these young crazy announcers too, so you had that mixed together. It was one of the best learning experiences I've ever had.
I'll bet that's quite the stew. Like, can you name check anybody that was at CKO when you were there? Besides Aaron Davis, and we'll get back to her.
Putting you on
the spot, Rudy.
Yeah, no. John Anderson is one of the first ones I think of, but he used to be on Chum, and he had a talk show. John Gilbert would be the name that people would know. Okay,
love it. Now, what was it like opping for a young Aaron Davis?
It was great. It was in fact, he discovered her. She was on radio in some small town, and he heard her and contacted her and got her the job there. That's how it all began. But no, Aaron, from back then to today, has always been an amazing person, very down to earth.
I've also had nothing but wonderful experiences with Aaron Davis, who very early in this podcast history replied to an email from some guy in his basement in South Etobicoke and agreed to visit along with her husband, who I call Miles Long.
Well, I call him Chuck Norris because when he was younger, he looked so much like
no wonder Aaron was all into this gentleman.
Yeah, no, and we actually shared an office at one point too. So no, he's a great guy. Love him to death.
Well, he opted for Bob McCowan.
Yes,
back in that's how he got the name Miles Long. I don't think that's on his driver's license.
I don't think so. But you know, one of the funny things about back then was, I mean, these guys were politically incorrect. So when people talk about these days in radio saying, oh, it's tough and things like that, they don't understand. Back then, people would get into fistfights. And people would say the nastiest things to each other, and they would smoke and drink and do other things that they shouldn't be doing. And a lot of times people got away with this kind of stuff.
Well, it's important, Rudy. I feel like it's important to recognize that cultural norms and values evolve over time.
Yes.
Like, I mean, in the 80s, we may use a word that we would never even, it would never come across my lips today, but we may have said it in a schoolyard or maybe busting our buddy's chops or something and not think twice about what the heck that meant.
Yeah.
In many, many ways. Actually, this came up on Blue Sky today. Basically, there's a famous game show, you probably watched it, called Just Like Mom.
Yes.
Okay. And Fergie Oliver would do this thing. I like to think, okay, so we had Family Feud at the time.
Yeah.
With the host, Richard Dawson, would kiss women, like the women on the show, right?
Yes, yes.
And that, by the way, that in itself can be another discussion. But at the time, okay, that's the shtick of this show. And for some reason, somebody, I don't know who, I've talked to many of the principals involved, but it was decided Fergie Oliver would often give a kiss to the little girls that would come on Just Like Mom.
Yes. It's actually, you can see some of that on YouTube right now.
Oh my God, can you ever? Can you ever? And when you watch the supercuts on YouTube, it's multiple things. It's icky.
Yeah.
It's cringy.
Yep.
It's something that we would never tolerate today.
No.
But it's also, if I may interject my opinion, it is of its time.
Yes.
Like, it aged like milk.
Yeah.
Okay. But a lot of these things, you're talking about what was happening at CKO. I've heard stories. I talk to people a lot older than us, Rudy, but we've evolved and things evolve. So the fact that Fergie Oliver, and this is a fact because we've all seen the video, and I remember watching the show, Fergie Oliver would give a kiss to a little girl who was kind of shy. She probably didn't want to be kissed by this man, and he would do a little on the lips, and people would kind of laugh at it or smile, and then you go on. As far as I know, nobody from Just Like Mom has ever filed a complaint of abuse or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
Fergie has never been charged with any offenses of that nature, despite the fact that millions of people have watched these supercuts and feel that these kids were being abused. And I feel like at that time, what Fergie was told to do, I don't think we thought twice about it. Yes. I don't think at that time we thought, oh my goodness, he's abusing these little girls.
No, it was the same thing. I mean, you had announcers that would throw carts, and if you don't know what carts are, they look like 8-tracks.
Like cartridges?
Yes, exactly. And they would literally throw it at you if you made a mistake or, charge at you. And when I say fistfights, I absolutely mean punching out fisticuffs. I got into fisticuffs myself too back then, especially because when you're in the industry, you're young and you're black, and you're one of the few, right, not just at that radio station, but in Toronto or anywhere, you literally have to fight back or else you're going to be walked on.
But were these fights, Rudy, racially motivated? Like, did somebody call you some kind of a racist name or something?
I was never called a racist name to my face, probably behind my back, but I was called probably other things as stupid, idiotic, those kind of names, and 80s, young, wild, not taking it. I would fight back, and I would get my respect. It was almost like going to prison. You got to fight a couple of guys, and then you get your
I'm
respect.
thinking of Office Space, right? It's like pound me in the ass prison, right? And there's other things that just don't age well. So, Rudy, I'm so glad you're here because I'm going to change the order of things,
Sure.
okay? I was going to get you to 680 and then talk to you a bit about 680 and then get you out of 680 and then talk about the last 10 years. And I'm still going to do that. But I'm going to fast forward to something that's happening now. And you mentioned how, fisticuffs and the things that would never be tolerated today were happening. And I'm guessing we're talking about, what are we talking about? Early 90s, late 80s? Where are we in the timelines when you're going to Humber College?
I graduated in 85. And
so you're older than I thought.
I'm 61.
Okay, I would have lost a bar bet. I kind of thought I was talking to a guy, maybe he had a couple of years on me, but we're the same vintage. But you got 10 years on me, buddy.
There you go.
Okay, you look good, man.
We both look
Compliments to you. Well, I look good for a guy 10 years younger. Okay, so catch up to me in 10 years, see how I look. I'm going to play, not the whole thing, obviously, but I'm just going to play about, 45 seconds of a chat you had with somebody when you were at 680, and then we'll get back to the order of things, okay?
Okay. Hey, look, man, first, thanks for doing this interview. Thanks for the invite for this Q107 40th anniversary celebration, man. How does it feel that today is history, and you have been making history for a long time on the airwaves?
Well, thank you, Rudy. It would be nicer to make history than to be made history. I was thinking about it just today that, the lifespan of a radio station is very rarely 40 years. Stations will often change formats and call letters and directions after 2 or 3 or 5 years. So for a radio station to be around for 40 years is truly a pretty incredible thing.
I had a chance to see you coming in, and you saw that long lineup that was outside the Phoenix, because that's where we are for the celebration. There were older folks, there were younger folks. I mean, think about it, my friend. You have been able to talk to generations and entertaining them, and that's what Q107 has done for this city and this country.
Well, I fully realize that I'm biased, but it's just to me, and obviously to a lot of other people, just the greatest music ever made. Music that stands the test of time. I was in a
There's
store
another
testing
3.5
out a piece
minutes,
of
Rudy.
electronics the other day.
I kind of want to play it, but
No, let's wrap it up, because there's something I want to throw out there.
Go ahead.
I mean, we're having a great conversation there. He used to make fun of me on the air when I was at 680. He used to make fun of my entertainment stories. This is what I've heard back. I've never actually heard what he would say. But the funny thing is, if I ran into him at a golf tournament or whatever, we always got along. And I always figured that if somebody's going to be on the air in the morning in the city to poke fun at something that I've done, then I've done something right, because that means I'm on their radar.
Well, that's a good way of looking. You have a positive attitude, Rudy Blair, because that's a good way to look at it. You've arrived that you're on the Derringer radar.
Yeah. So, but he never said anything to my face. So,
well, because that would require some courage, because you could see a fist coming in your direction. We know you'll drop the gloves.
I'm old school. That's the way I grew up. That's the way it is.
And you're pumping iron, right?
I haven't worked out in about 2.5 months, but throughout my whole life, I've always been hitting the gym. I mean, the most I think I've benched is probably 325.
See, I think it's cowardly to go on the air and go at Rudy Blair, and then when you see Rudy Blair in person, act like he's your long-lost best buddy. Like, to me, that's cowardly, because say it to my face. Not me, actually, because I don't work out, and I'll get pummeled. I'm talking about say it to Rudy Blair's face.
That's you know what? It's kind of funny when you say that, because isn't that the way social media is these days, too?
Yes. Yes, you say things via social media you would never say to somebody's face.
Yeah, and again, we're old school. Old school was, if you said something about somebody, back it up, and if you can't back it up, shut the you-know-what up, period.
So the reason I played your chat with John Derringer celebrating 40 years of Q107, or is it Q10 Zeppelin? I can't remember what that was station's called. And there's a great mockumentary, by the way, about the launch of Q107. I think it might be episode 1071, knowing how clever I am with the numbering system. Okay, so I bring it up because as we speak this week, Jennifer Valentine has been testifying at a human rights tribunal about violations she alleges against Chorus, and in particular, the three people she was on the air with at Q107, which is John Derringer, Ryan Parker, who's still on the air at Q107, and a guy named Johnny Garbutt, who's also on the air right now at Q107. And I've been reading the CBC updates. Have you been following this?
I followed the first story that it came up that this was going on. I actually sent her a message saying that, good luck with this. And then I also wanted to interview her daughter because her daughter had just released a new single this week.
Like a music single?
It's a music single.
That's cool.
But she and I go back, way back. I'm always going to support her, no matter what, because she's one of the kindest people you're going to meet out there. And for anybody to be treating somebody like her like that, there's got to be something wrong. And she's not going to make something up like that because, as she said, I'm older. I need the job. And she's not going to do something to have that job go away. And they did every nasty thing that they can think of to get rid of her.
And I produced
That's
the Humble.
my opinion.
Yeah, no, of course. You're speaking for Rudy Blair here. I produced the Humble and Fred show. And as such, I've had many long-form conversations with Humble and Fred, who worked down the hallway from Derringer when he was at Q. Mm-hmm. Humble and Fred were the morning show at CFNY. And then, what's it called again? Mojo Radio. You remember Mojo
I
Radio?
remember Mojo.
Of course you do. Of course. Mojo Radio.
That said it all.
Okay, where do I go? Mojo. This could come back to Ken Dryden here, but I'll save it. But because Ken Dryden didn't like that format because they had the rights to Leaf games.
Yes.
And this was following the child sex abuse scandal at Maple Leaf Gardens. And Ken Dryden didn't want the brand tied to anything sexual, even if it's consenting adults. So there goes Mojo Radio.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But Humble and Fred, I will tell you, because I've had on this program, Andrea Ruse, I don't want to, oh God, I'm doing this, I don't want to miss anybody. Maureen Holloway, Colleen Rushholm, Jackie Delaney, that's four off the top of my head who had experience what Jennifer Valentine would go on to experience. So what we have there, my friend, is called a trend. This is now multiple women who shared the mic with John Derringer, all having similar complaints. So to me, I'm kind of glad that Chorus will have to answer to this because they knew full well what happens when you put a woman in the booth with John Derringer.
Yeah, and you're talking about an era now where human resources is supposed to do something about it. Not when I first got in, that literally you didn't even know what human resources was because nobody went to human resources because you dealt with it yourself.
They probably told you guys to fight it out, and
it had to be something brutal.
But interesting to me is that Jennifer didn't go to human resources; she went to the executives. So she cut out because human resources, as you know, Rudy, and you probably know this firsthand, but human resources works for ownership, right?
Yes.
They're there to protect the interests of ownership.
But a lot of people don't know that.
A lot of people think they're somehow there's some third party.
Yes.
But no, they're there to protect the interests of ownership and the executive team. So I just wondered if you had any. I think it's very courageous of Jennifer Valentine for doing this, and I think we have to wait quite a bit for the Chorus side. I feel like these tribunals, which take years to come to the surface here, because she filed this years ago. Mm-hmm. I think we hear from Jennifer this week, and then maybe in February we hear from Chorus. Okay. And I think on that list will be people like John Derringer and Ryan Parker and Johnny Garbutt. But I will ask you one radio question, then we'll get back to you getting to 680. I'm really grilling you hard here. That's because you were 2 hours late. You don't understand. Considering two of these three guys, which we're hearing the stories now from Jennifer Valentine, but two of these three gentlemen are actually on the morning show right now at Q107. Mm-hmm. Do you think they survived this? You can only speculate. You're not in management at Chorus. But do you think they survived this?
Sure, because if you ask anybody who John Derringer is, everybody knows. Now, mention the other two guys. Not a lot of people are going to know that.
But they are on the air.
They are on the air, but John is or was Q107. It didn't matter. I mean, if you saw the posters or anything back then, it was John's face. It wasn't the other two guys. You know, they could switch up the other two guys,
No, you're
and
right.
nobody
It's
would
the John
even notice.
Derringer show, or Derringer in the morning, I think.
Exactly.
Is what they call that.
It was John was the face of not just the morning show, but the station itself, and in a lot of ways, Chorus too, Chorus Radio. It was John, so everybody was focused on him.
Have you heard from John or spoken to John since he was let go by Chorus?
No, there was no need to. I mean, we were never buddies or anything. I mean, I was cordial. He was cordial with me. Jennifer is a friend of mine, so there's a big difference. Jennifer would message me. I'd message her back. We saw each other somewhere, like at a Mervis show. We take pictures with each other and things like that and have a quick chat. And I've interviewed her daughter in the past too. So,
and they look an awful lot alike, don't they?
oh my goodness, they're twins. That's twins.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I see a photo, I think, wow, this is wild. So just wanted to take a detour to the John Derringer stuff because we talked about how, cultures and norms have changed. And maybe if you start this behavior early in your career at a different time, let's say the early 90s or late 80s or something, and nobody stops you, you feel entitled to continue with this behavior even through the 2000s when it is society would deem it so unacceptable in 2025.
I'm going to speak for myself now because don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to play like I was innocent. I did stupid things back then myself too, and how I dealt with it. So once the 2000s and things were going on where literally you could not even raise your voice, I had to change with the times. Don't get me wrong. I would be extremely...
You had to evolve.
I had to evolve, but I would be so frustrated because I would be sitting there going, man, I wish this was back in the 80s and I would have done this and that, whatever. But no, then you have to, okay, I understand. It's,
right.
I
a lot of listening.
I would say it 1,000 times. I wish it was back in the day, where I could have dealt with it and then we would go and have a beer. Now,
right.
I think a lot of people are soft. And when I say that, I don't mean, when somebody's being put down or, the sexual assaults or any of those other things. No, I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about, for example, these days, if you were to speak to a younger broadcaster and say, hey, you know what, maybe you don't want to do this, they immediately get offended, and next thing you know, you're in human resources because you hurt their feelings, and They need to take a week off because they have to, mind vacation or something.
It takes to navigate the current climate, the corporate world, you do a lot of biting of the tongue. You got to enjoy the taste of blood, is what I'm telling you, Rudy, right? I totally get it. I mean, you and I are talking here as for the last decade or so, you two, we've both worked for ourselves as independent, broadcasters and media people. So we don't have to go into the cubicle culture and deal with, but I have a feeling if you were like from the 80s and 90s and then suddenly, I don't know, you went into a coma and then you came back in 2025, you would find out pretty quickly, oh, that's not tolerated anymore. But dude, I remember being in a cubicle culture in the mid 90s. I remember like a sales guy might pat the butt of a pretty, like the fact you would actually pat the bum of a woman as she walked, like a Jennifer Marlowe. I'm going back to WKRP now.
Yeah.
Jennifer Marlowe walks by. Imagine, and Herb pats the butt, and then Jennifer might giggle or whatever. Like that kind of behavior, like it's a good thing for our daughters, and it's a good thing for society that we deem that unacceptable.
And I agree, but I will say this, and I'm speaking personally for myself.
Yeah.
I've had female coworkers do the exact same thing to me.
Yeah.
And I...
Well, you got a great ass, Rudy.
Oh, I try. Squats. But again, because of who I knew and things like that, I did not take it in that manner. Now, if that was supposed to happen, I'd be like, well, what do I do? Do I go telling somebody whatever? Like, I'll give you a really good example. Something that happened to me at 680. Okay. I'm not going to give names, but somebody had did a story on this music group and said that they had an exclusive interview. And I wrote back to them, and they did this on social media. I went, how do you have exclusive if I've got the same interview and I've run it before you? I got called into human resources for that because I was told I was harassing that individual.
And you didn't drop any F-bombs or anything.
I just
you
asked.
cited a fact, which is because I've actually seen, I've had people in the basement, and I've seen other mainstream media broadcasters tout their exclusive interview, and I'll be like, oh, I just recorded with them in the basement last week or whatever. So I understand that feeling. You have the right to point that out civilly to somebody.
Yes, and it was like, and people don't. It drives me crazy because I see it right these days a lot of times where somebody says they could be on the red carpet. So I've got an exclusive interview with so and so. It's like, wait a minute, that person just talked to 8 other people. How do you have an exclusive?
I think people maybe got dumb to a point where they don't know what exclusive means.
Exactly. I could say I had a few, like for example, one of my biggest interviews that actually kicked off my entertainment music reporting.
Okay, good.
Was with Phil Collins. I had an exclusive because Phil Collins came into town. I got a call from Warner Music saying, hey, he just showed up. Nobody's got him. If you want him, he's yours. I ran out, did the interview, put it on the air, and nobody believed I did it. They thought I took some recording and threw my name on it.
Like Al TV.
Yeah,
or something.
so I had to prove that. But that was an exclusive because nobody else had it.
Fascinating. So let's before we get too far ahead of ourselves, shout out to the WKRP. I also love WKRP to a point where it did make me love radio more, and it did make me, not that I ever even took it to the step you took it to, or you actually go get that weekend diploma and you actually work at CKO. But I did fantasize about being a DJ because I wanted to be like Dr. Johnny Fever.
He was cool.
Yeah, or Venus Flytrap.
Cool. Fever, the actor, I did get a chance to interview him once at TIFF and told him the same thing, that, massive fan. And every once in a while, I'll go on YouTube because they still have the episodes up there. I'll watch them. I love the show.
Absolutely. When you watch those episodes, do you hear the original music?
The original, yes. I do hear and yeah, you know what I'm talking about when we talk about the original music.
Absolutely. You get the Who in there, you get real songs. Very difficult in the DVD era, in the streaming era, but that's their problem, not ours, right? Okay, so you're doing the CKO thing, working with the legend that is FOTM Aaron Davis, and you're doing this weekend thing at Humber College. Take me to 680.
Well, very quickly, was head op. Station closed because of what was it called? Black Tuesday or Black Monday back in the 80s?
There was a stock market crash.
Yeah, and station couldn't handle it. They had been bought out. The folks looked at this.
I think it was Monday, like a Black Monday.
Black Monday or something like that. Because the station was unionized and everything else, they just said, we're just going to shut the station down. Ended up doing I was even doing those call center things. Got a job working telemarketing and stuff. Got a job working at a recording studio for a couple of years because that's what I really wanted to do. The market was still bad. A couple of years later, it shut down. My life completely changed. The person I was living with walked out on me, ended up leaving me with bills. I moved back home, and I had to start over. And I ended up getting 2 part-time jobs. One was at the Fan 590 working overnights, and I got another part-time job, also opping, at All Hits 680 CFTR.
Oh man, Evelyn Macco gave me this.
That's it, man.
I won't even open it, but 680 CFTR, that was my station, man. Give me Tom Rivers in the morning.
There you go. So I would do that on the weekends, and when the station decided to go from music after a year to all news, I started opping the mornings with Dick Smythe and our friend, and it was a great learning experience. But then again, automation, body's changing. I got a different position working there, and I was getting tired of what I was doing, and I wanted to do something different. And I remember watching this show where this guy was interviewing people, and he sucked. And I said to myself, man, I could do a better job than that.
Do you remember what show that was?
It was on Fox, so you knew it didn't last for very long. And
Home of the Simpsons, still going.
So I went to Gloria Martin, who I consider one of my mentors, and she was doing traffic, but she was also doing entertainment, and said, hey, can I help? She said, sure. She gave me some movie passes. I did some horrible reviews that would only run overnights. But it was a great learning experience. And then eventually I said I wanted my own identity. And I said, why don't I become a music reporter? and I started interviewing people who nobody would know. Like Shodaman is always a name that always sticks out.
Say that name again.
Shodaman.
Yeah, I don't know the name.
Exactly. Those were the people I was interviewing. It was getting frustrating because none of the record companies would interview me. Or I should say, allow me to interview their people. It was because, do you remember the song Butterfly Kisses?
Of course.
So, and I think his name was Bob Carlisle, I do believe. I could
That
be
sounds
wrong.
right to me.
He was in the station for CHFI. One of my bosses said, hey, we have a music reporter. Do you mind him interviewing him? So I did the interview. The guy loved me so much, asked me to introduce him at the show he was doing at Ontario Place. And then the folks who brought him in said, hey, we got some new acts. How about you interview them? And the bonus to those new acts was Britney Spears,
Wow.
Backstreet Boys, NSYNC. I can go on and on with that. Other record places started hearing the same thing, going, hey, we've got young acts, and started giving me the young acts who now become, the big ones like the Michael Bublé's and the Avril Lavigne's, and they were nobodies when I interviewed them.
Well, here, since you brought up the name Avril Lavigne, let's just get a taste of
Hey,
this.
y'all, this is 680's music reporter, Rudy Blair. I remember a decade ago, I had a chance to interview this young lady from Napanee, Ontario. And I remember her sitting in a hallway, and I'm walking by, I'm going, is this the person I'm supposed to speak with? And they're like, yeah. So I brought her into the 680 studios, and we sat down, we started talking. And 10 minutes into the interview, literally I had to stop and go, who the heck is this? Because I've never interviewed anybody so bold at that age. Well, that young lady turned out to be Avril Lavigne, and that boldness, that's gotten her not just to be one of the biggest artists in Canada, but internationally one of the biggest artists in the world. She definitely is one of my favorite artists I've interviewed here in Toronto.
We need a taste of some Avril. Hold on here.
And girl, I gotta say, I am so proud of you and how your career has just, and literally I have to say, sparkled over the years.
Thank you.
I mean, how does it feel knowing that you've accomplished?
And I remember that way back when with my first single, having the interview with you, and every time
complicated?
I'm in Canada and I see you, it's really nice.
Do you remember the song that you sang? I was looking for the interview that we did, and you sang this song about I'm not a da da da, I'm not a da da da, something. And
Was it a cover?
No, it was a song that you wrote, and you sang it.
Wow.
And it was pretty bold with the song that you sang. I'm not going to say the words to what it was, but I couldn't stop laughing. I was trying to
Not
go
on
back and find my
680.
interview. I have it. Couldn't find it because I wanted to remember what that song was.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, girl, when
That's
I first
cool.
met you, I
She
was
was very
like,
comfortable.
Yeah, this gal is kind of
There's
crazy.
a good rapport
but,
here.
like I said, the thing I loved about you was because you were so bold, you were so real, and you were willing to talk about and say anything that was on your mind. And in a lot of ways, you still do. That has not changed over the years.
I'm an honest person, yes. And yeah, thank you. And it's cool because I get to do interviews and talk about my music, and my music's important to me, and I write my songs and I get to relay the messages to the fans.
But did you ever think it would be on that status? We're talking iconic here because you have so many fans that look up to you. They look forward to your music, and it's always been relatable over the years.
No, I had no idea it would be on this level. It's crazy, I really
Rudy, it speaks to the
just
fact that when you have an unknown, like, okay,
Loved being
speak to
on
this, she was like a
stage.
teenager, speak to
And
this
I was always
girl from
playing
Napanee, and you're like, oh,
musicals
no one knows this name, who the heck
So
is this?
I didn't even
You
know
never
what
know, right?
Hollywood
Like, you never know.
That's one of the things I love about doing what I do, because I could do hundreds of interviews, and you don't know which individual is going to break big. And once they've done that, they don't forget who was there when nobody cared about them.
Right.
And I'll use Avril for an example. Now, mind you, I haven't spoken with her in years, and it's hard to get her over. But there was a point where if she was walking the red carpet, she would talk to maybe one or two people. But if she saw me and they were trying to hurt her, she would stop and go, I'm talking to him. And everybody else is told, you're not allowed to ask anything. She would only talk to him. Those are the kind of connections I love.
Love it so much. Now, so we got you at 680 now.
Yes.
And a few names I want to ask you about. One, this gentleman, I think he's a sweetheart. And so that means you can't trash this guy, because I just told you I think he's a sweetheart. So if you trash him, my heart will break. But he comes out to events, and we have a great rapport. But Mike Epple was almost there since day one. Like, he's not a day oneer, but he's close.
I love Mike. Mike's very cool. Mike, he actually started in sports at 680 and moved over to the business, and he's a business juggernaut. You can't think of Toronto business without thinking of Mike Epple. He moved to television, came back to radio. I think he's got like a farm now where he's living out there.
That's the plan. I think that's the plan.
Yeah, I think he's doing it right now. But he's one of the best examples of hard work and following your dreams. And he's definitely done that. He's got a beautiful family, and I'm glad that I can call him a work colleague and a friend.
Is his farm going to be in Tilsonburg, or is that just where he's from?
I'm not sure, because like I said, we talk sporadically these days. Every once in a while, there's a message back, but I do believe he's there, like he's living on the farm now as we speak.
So, since I know Mike Epple's listening, Mike, I need to see you at TMLX 21, the 21st Toronto Mike Listener Experience. It's going to be at Palma's Kitchen on November 29th at noon. Rudy, you're invited. And if you did show up, Palma Pasta would feed you. Oh, wow. I'd bring fresh, cold cans of Great Lakes beer for you. So you get a fresh can of beer. You get some delicious pasta from Palma Pasta, who's hosting us. We'll be on the second floor. And I can promise you, Peter Gross will be there.
Oh, okay? I know Peter will be there.
So if because Peter, on that note, Peter loves the lasagna. Like any excuse to come back to get that Palma Pasta lasagna. I have one. It arrived today from Palma Pasta. They sent over a large frozen lasagna for you. You're taking that home with you, Rudy.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
So that box is empty, but I assure you, this is not just for show, because in my freezer right now is your large lasagna. So you're getting a thank you to Palma Pasta. And also, while I'm giving out some gifts, I'll just do another couple quick gifts. The fresh beer right here is courtesy of Great Lakes Beer. We love our GLB on this show. You're taking that home with you as well, Rudy.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, especially with Thanksgiving coming up. This is perfect.
Good time. Now, don't overeat, because Ridley Funeral Home doesn't want to see you for a while, but they did send over a measuring tape for you, Rudy Blair. That's courtesy of Ridley Funeral Home. And today, right after we say goodbye, I have Brad Jones from Ridley Funeral Home dropping by to record a new episode of Life's Undertaking, his fantastic podcast. So shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. And since I'm shouting out fantastic podcasts, Nick Iones, he's the host of Building Toronto Skyline and Building Success. They're two podcasts that I produce for Nick, and they're great. So tune in, subscribe, enjoy. Thank you to Nick Iones. And while I'm thanking people, thank you to Doug Mills. He owns Blue Sky Agency. Blue Sky Agency has forged partnerships with established office furniture brands like Silent and Green Furniture Concept and Rouliard. And Doug Mills is eager to chat with any and all Toronto Mike listeners who are looking for dynamic and creative work environments. You can write Doug right now. Doug at blueskyagency.ca. Let him know you're an FOTM and have a good chat with Doug. You don't need any dynamic and creative work environments because you work from home, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And then once in a while, you're going to be on a red carpet or something like that.
Absolutely. One thing I wanted to point out, you got a picture of Brian Lanahan.
Yes, I do.
There. I consider the greatest interviewer of all time. As a kid, I used to watch his show, but I never realized how much I would absorb from what he did over the years. I met him once, believe it or not, at a P. Diddy party.
What else happened at that party?
That was it.
Do tell, Rudy Blair.
But I consider him the greatest, and I actually tried to, as years went on, to sort of mimic his style because he was so damn good.
So you and I have a lot in common, Rudy. We should have done this long ago. Yes. I also loved his style. He did his homework.
Yes.
And that lesson, I never forgot that lesson. Do your homework. And I often try to emulate Brian Lanahan on the show. In fact, that picture is there because The Watchmen just wanted me to know that Brian Linehan would be proud of me. And I can tell everybody, Sammy Cohn from The Watchmen is going to be back in this basement in a couple of weeks. And I'm honored. If I'm even like 1% of Brian Linehan, I'm doing my job.
Same here. Same here.
Cut from the same cloth.
Yes.
Love it so much. Okay. So back to 680 for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
There's a woman who retired very recently. I believe she was the last day oneer at the show. Anne Lavery. Am I saying
Lavery.
Lavery,
Lavery,
not
yes.
Lavery. I'm trying to give it more fancy affectation there. So Anne, she was there from day one, and then she recently retired.
Yes. I will tell you a little bit with Anne. Before, Anne was more dealing in the newsroom and helping organize and scheduling, which is a tough job, especially when holidays come up, and also dealing with interns and helping pick which talent we could use to help keep 680 going. And she did an amazing job at doing that. But the thing was, though, when I met Anne used to do overnight traffic.
Right.
And it wasn't just what you hear with people doing traffic. Anne was more like, the gardener right now is at a standstill. And you're just like sweating listening to her talk. Anne had the most seductive traffic reports that you would ever hear.
Getting hot in here.
Back then.
Anne, what's going on here?
But you know what? She, again, woman dealing with this industry as it changed over and over and bodies changing and things like that. She got to call her own shot. So you gotta give her big time credit on that.
Yeah, that's a long, good run. Absolutely here. Okay. Now there's another couple I want to talk about because their union starts at 680, and I'm wondering what you'll say about FOTMs, Paul Cook and Stephanie Smythe, and Stephanie currently a member of Parliament.
Oh my goodness. Cook and I, we're all cut from the same cloth. We're the kind of guys who don't want to put up with any kind of crap if we want to argue. We've had arguments. We've stood nose.
Have you dropped the gloves of Paul Cook?
We have stood nose to nose, ready to just go, let's go to the park club. But I think that's one of the big reasons why we respected each other. We'd have great conversations. I respect him immensely. He respects me the same way too. Hard workers. Paul is the voice of 680 News, hands down. You think about 680, you're gonna hear the name Paul Cook. Paul is one of the reasons why I was able to do what I was able to do, because he came to bat to me and Stephanie Smythe. Let me throw that over there. And somebody, of course, doesn't work there also, John Hennon, when he was news director. They all came to bat for me and going, you know what, let this guy do the music reporting, because I was doing music reporting and opping in the morning. So the music reporting I did for free kind of thing.
Okay, well, this is an important distinction. I'm glad we're uncovering this now. So your role is to be a board op.
Yes.
But you have bigger dreams for yourself. So you mentioned you had a little mentor, Gloria Martin's role,
yes,
and that you got to do some, and you mentioned these things would air in the middle of the night or whatever. So when do you stop having to operate the board?
John Hennon pulls me in and he says, look, you know what? You're here like 19 hours a day, and you're here on weekends trying to do all this entertainment stuff. It is starting to make a difference. So why don't we just have you do that? They also had me do something else where I was basically, adding sound effects to some stories that people would have and whatever. But basically my main job was music/entertainment, because, and I will say this 1,000 times, I don't care what era you're in, nobody in radio had what 680 News had, which was Gloria Martin doing the Mervis shows, stage shows, and television and movies. And then you had the Leslie James, who also was one of the greatest music critics I've ever worked with. And then myself doing the music reporting and also some entertainment and what was going on in the city kind of thing. You had those three, at one radio station. Nobody ever had that before, and I consider that a great triumph in the industry.
Did you have to go out and find your own stories? Like, how hands-on was it? Like, I don't know who was your boss over there, but did you have the creative leverage to say, oh, somebody's in town, I'm going to try to put something together on that? Like, how much creative freedom did you have?
I would say about 75% was just me. I could just walk in and say, hey, I'm
Self-starter.
I'm doing this. I'm going here. I'm bringing this in, whatever else. Sometimes I would get pushed back because, great example, with John Hannon, I remember I said, look, these girls are in town. Only Much and I are talking to them. Nobody else is. Let me do this interview. And John's like, no, I don't want you doing that. And I'm just
Can I guess who they are?
Go ahead.
Spice Girls.
You got it. Because he came back to me about a month or two ago going, who are these Spice Girls? I said, I don't want to talk to you. He did that to me a couple of times where I would say, I'm going to go interview this act. And he's going, nobody cares about them, whatever. And then would come back and go, who's this? And, they end up being the biggest thing since sliced bread. So
it's like you and Avril Lavigne, right? Who'd have thunk it? Teenager from Napanee.
Look, you know what? One of the biggest ones I always said was, oh gosh,
give me a clue. I want to play this game.
She's going. She's oh my goodness.
Taylor Swift.
No, not Taylor. I'll tell you a story with Taylor Swift. That I did an interview with her, and that was in Tim Hortons when nobody knew who the heck she was.
Oh, and she was like an up and coming country singer.
She was just this thin, tall, young girl, and I didn't know who the heck she was. I didn't even take a picture with her. I just did the interview and went back and posted it because she had this little country song. Again, who knew? Lady Gaga, same thing. She comes down. We actually talked about her working with NSYNC more than just her music. Who knew? I've got, like I said, I feel like I've got so many interviews where I'm like, nobody knew this person would blow up, and then they would blow up, and I'm going, oh my goodness. The best example, which I've always shown and told people, and I always love telling this story, in going to, it was a wrestling show, and Bret Hart was there, and for Torontonians who know Sweet Daddy Siki, he was there. And it was actually a WWF setup where they were going to promote this Tiger Jeet Singh's son who was being signed. And there was this other guy that was being signed too, but nobody gave a darn about him. They only cared about Tiger. And I remember seeing this guy just leaning up against the wall. Nobody spoke to him.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
The Rock.
You got it. Went over to him.
I like this game.
I went over to him and said, do you mind if I do an interview with you? He goes, yeah, please. We did the interview. We took a picture. And if you ever see the picture, I posted it several times. The camera has to sort of go upward because he was just so tall and so big. We talked in the elevator. Who knew that this guy would be who he is today? And it's one of the frustrating things I have with a lot of people out there now who say they only want to talk to the big stars and they don't want to talk to people who are just up and coming or starting out. That's where you need to be to help them elevate to be big stars.
I'm with you. This culture of celebrity worship, I mean, you and I are fiercely independent. We can do what we want to do.
Yes.
But I enjoy a good conversation, and that's why if I only cared about downloads, I may come to some conclusion, present company accepted, but I may decide, oh, this up-and-coming person is not going to get downloads, unlike this person who's going to get downloads. And I refuse to operate that way because I'm looking for a good conversation.
Same here.
I'm not a celebrity worshiper. Some people are more famous than others. We can't all be Steve Paikin.
No. I mean, I just did an interview about 2 or 3 weeks ago with a Toronto group called The Whispers. And I loved their sound. I just saw them on TikTok. I contacted them. It took a few months, but we finally got the interview. And I want to do more of those.
Did they whisper during the conversation? That would be their thing they do.
Nah, they were just making me laugh throughout the whole thing. They were cool.
Oh, I love what you're doing here. So where I know you shouted out the website earlier, but now's a good time to just, if people want to consume the content that you're creating, send them somewhere.
Rudy Blair Entertainment Media at rudyblairmedia.com.
So are these typically hosted by YouTube? Like, what is the distribution mechanism? So right now you're on a podcast, so people go wherever they get their podcasts and they subscribe. Is it YouTube?
YouTube. It's YouTube. I do Zoom interviews. I don't like doing phone-ins because it's, people like to see the visual. So I'll do the Zoom interviews. I'll post it through my website on YouTube, and you can get all of my interviews for the last 10 years.
And now's a good time to get you out of 6. Oh, and look, I have a couple more 680. So you know what? Forget we can merge 680 with your independent work because you're really doing the same thing.
Yes.
Except now you have more creative freedom. So I guess just so we put a bow on this, why does your time at 680 News come to an end?
So here's what I'm gonna say to you.
Are you reading this from a lawyer letter? What's
No, because everybody who has asked me this, I've always given them the, if you want to call it, lawyer list of, they said this was going on, whatever. I'm going to give a little bit more of my truth. And the thing is, somebody ended up in a higher position who did not like me. And as soon as I knew that person was in that position, I said, I'm not going to be here for long. And it took about a year before I was dismissed. They said it had to do with, what do you call those guys again? Who will listen to your station and then come up with
consultants?
Consultants. Thank you. That's the word I'm trying
Humble
to
and Fred like to talk very poorly of their many radio consultants.
Yeah, consultants don't know what they're talking about. Anyways, they were told that nobody listens to entertainment on 680. That's the lowest thing, which I did not believe at all because I know the reactions I got from people, especially because doing entertainment got me a 2-year run on Rogers Television on the mic with Rudy Blair that I did that had amazing ratings. So
right.
It just, bottom line is, somebody who I clashed with for the longest time because I did not agree with the things that they did, got into the right position, and then suddenly I was told I wasn't doing entertainment. I had to do other things. Nobody was assigning me stuff, so I had to assign myself stuff, even though, you're looking up at the wall and I've got almost 20 RT DNA awards, and most of those are just mine alone. It was frustrating. And I think it was just, I was beaten to the ground, bottom line. And it was frustrating. And I was doing everything I could to make this work. So I was trying to come up with stories and things like that, but nobody was helping me. And then finally, I walked in one day before TIFF. I got called in. I saw Human Resources. Said, here we go. My, is finally out of here.
How long had you been at 680, or at least with a Rogers
23
radio?
years.
23 years. Okay,
Yeah.
Now, did they sever you fairly?
Again, I never said this to anybody, but I'll say it to you. They gave me opportunity, which I will always love that they did that. They gave me a platform to do what I wanted to do for the longest time. I got a chance to meet people and do things I never would have done. I mean, I'm having dinner with Lionel Richie, and things like that. But when it came down to pay, I was drastically not paid well.
I'm disappointed to hear this, Rudy. Now that we're buds, I'm pissed off, actually. So I've heard this story from others. Why do you think you weren't compensated fairly when the station generates a lot of revenue for a massive company like Rogers?
Because my job was created just for me. It wasn't like a normal reporter's job where you had all the... It was created for me, and when I was gone, it was not there anymore. Nobody replaced me, even though people tried to. It wasn't replaced. They had somebody else trying to do the same thing, but they did what they were doing, and
Reminds me, though, of when back to Jennifer, our mutual friend, Jennifer Valentine, when she was let go from Breakfast Television, they said they were going to get rid of the live eyes. That was the spiel at the time. It was an April Fool's Day, by the way. Interesting timing for that. And then you just, you didn't have to wait too long before there were live eyes again.
And they're doing entertainment at 680. That's the funniest thing. The only difference, though, is, and again, I don't want to knock the station because the station gave me opportunity. It was just certain people I did not get along with, and they didn't get along with me. It's that way anywhere. But my thing was this. I'll give you a great example. When James Brown died,
Right.
it was on, I woke up, turned on the radio, Christmas Day, they were talking about James Brown dying. Got out of bed, dressed, got into the car, drove to the radio station. I had an interview that I had done maybe a year and a half before with James Brown, put 3 obits together, went home. That does not happen at 680. Nobody's getting up to do these kind of things. Nobody has the interviews that were done by these legends. Like, if I was still at 680 and Ozzy Osbourne had passed, I've got interviews that I've done with Ozzy that I could cut up that is my own.
So what's changed? Like is it just simply that
It's rip and read.
yeah, rip and read.
Yeah. I'm talking entertainment. It's rip and read. And the thing is, though, too, the younger folks don't know who these other artists are. They just know what they know. Right. So they don't even know how to represent those people.
Also, typically, am I right that the rip and reads are typically from an American source, right?
Yes.
So you don't get necessarily the nuance of a Toronto artist, playing the Cameron House or something.
No, it's like, again, going back to James Brown. One of the things I had asked him was, how do you want to be remembered? He said he wanted to be remembered like Dr. Martin Luther King. You don't have that anywhere. When one of my all-time favorites, Barry White, when he passed away, I asked him a bunch of questions about his legacy, and he answered them. When he passed away, I was the only person in Canada who had a recorded interview with Barry White, and that was, again, 2 years before his passing.
Who owns these interviews?
I'll tell you this story. You're going to love this. So when we parted ways, a lot of my interviews were on mini disc and, of course, in their system. The mini disc, I've got like hundreds of them. And when I left, I was told that I would get those mini discs with those interviews. And so I didn't see anything coming back to me. So I called them and find out what was going on. They said that they own those interviews. And technically they're right, because I'm working for the station.
On their airwaves.
So they're right. But then
salary. Yeah.
Exactly. But then I explained to them, okay, well, here's where the problem comes in. The mini discs I paid for, the microphone that was used, I paid for, the mini disc recorder I used. So I need you guys to take all my interviews off and give me my property. 2 days later, they just said, I'll just keep the interviews.
Smart move, man.
So I have them.
Never underestimate how lazy a station will be.
Because there's a lot of interviews they would literally have to go through to give me back my property.
When you were chatting with Avril Lavigne, I couldn't help but notice you were talking about the chat you had, like, I don't know if it was 10 years prior or how many years.
Something like that, yeah.
But I couldn't help but notice you didn't insert audio of that. Like, is there some of these interviews you just gone into the abyss that you wish you had?
I still have them. I got her interview, I still have. But back then, like I said, she had such attitude.
I want to hear that interview. What I'm telling you, Rudy, is I want to hear the attitude-laden, teenaged Avril that you spoke to.
So here's the thing. I've been thinking about this, especially because it's been 10 years. The people who were at 680 aren't there anymore. I don't think 680 would even care, or Rogers would care anymore. They might. I'm really thinking about now posting those first-time interviews. I think it would be hilarious. I did one when I was with 680. I posted, I can't even think of who it was again. Britney Spears.
Okay,
sorry.
Sure.
I posted the very first interview I did with her, and people were just like, oh, my goodness. The way she sounded, what she talked about, and things like that, to what you know of her now.
If fiercely independent Rudy Blair starts dropping conversations he had with people like Britney Spears while under the employment of a Rogers' own station like 680 News, and if you were to get a cease and desist from Rogers' lawyers, you can kiss the sky. I'm telling you, it's not a good look for them. It's going to make them look petty. It's going to be bad PR for them. I say do it. And
I'm thinking about it, and I don't think, because again, I've never slammed Rogers. I've never slammed 680. Even with this interview, I'm not slamming Rogers. I said there were certain individuals that we clashed, and those individuals, I actually have a good rapport with them as to this day, actually, because I don't want to be that person who's going, what's done is the past. We're here now. You move on. I'm on my own. I've been doing it for 10 years. I've been busting my rear end doing that. I know I'm going to run into these people, so why am I going to fight with them? It's stupid.
What's more satisfying, getting getting a conversation with Taylor Swift that's going to be for 680 or doing it for Rudy Blair?
Oh, absolutely, Rudy Blair. One of the things I've always said is because when I went to I've been to the Grammy Awards 3 times, and it was under Rogers and 680. One of the things I want to do before I'm done is I want to go back to the Grammys under Rudy Blair Entertainment Media. I would love for that to happen.
Get the press, and then you got to finance your own trip there, and get that press pass.
Whatever I have to do. I mean, I'm
Amazing.
still doing the red carpets for the Junos, which
I met you at a red carpet. I was on a red carpet, and you were right beside me.
Yes, I do remember that.
And I was there for shits and gigs because I don't actually do what you do. Like I don't want to talk to people at the red carpet, but to see, I was doing an experiment. Could Toronto Mike get a spot on the red carpet for the Rock of Fame? What was that called? Or was it for some Juno type thing? Was that Massey Hall?
Yeah,
right?
It's the
TD Music Hall that's attached to Massey Hall.
Could be the. I'm trying to think. Is it Songwriters Hall of Fame?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Okay, so
because that's evolved. It's coming up as we speak.
So I just remember Glass Tiger was in the elevator with me because Alan Frew said, "You're the lasagna guy." But I got this, and I remember Marilyn Dennis was the MC.
Yes.
This is what I remember.
Yeah.
But I remember, literally, I just wanted to see if I could get a spot on the red carpet. And then it turns out I got a spot on the red carpet, but I didn't actually want to do anything with it. So I sort of just said, "Hey, hi, Carol Pope." Like people would walk by and I'd kind of wave hi and say hi. And you were right beside me having actual video interviews with people. Like you were working. I was just there to see if I could be there.
And I you know what? I consider being on any red carpet a privilege, especially being on my own, because when I was on red carpets before, it was because of 680 News and Rogers. When I'm on a red carpet now, it's because of Rudy Blair.
I think that's so satisfying for you. Now you're not working for the man. You're working for Rudy.
Yes, and I know all those interviews are mine. And a lot of the young, like I just did the SOCAN Awards, and a lot of these young artists who are walking down know who I am. And I've had conversations with them because I talked to them when nobody cared.
Right.
And it's a whole different reaction. All you got to do is watch my interviews, see exactly what I'm talking about.
You were at you mentioned you went to a couple of Grammy Awards, but you were there for that one where Whitney Houston passed away the day before.
That was crazy.
What was that like to cover that for 680?
Oh, man, one of my highlights, I'm sorry that she passed away, especially because it was funny. That day, I said, I'm in L.A. I want an authentic taco, all right? So I'm literally walking around in the area. And LA's got those steep hills that I was not used to. So I'm walking. I finally find a truck, and I got my taco, and I'm eating it. And I'm starting to get messages going, something's going on with Whitney Houston. I go back into my hotel room, and I find out Whitney Houston has died. I'm getting all these phone calls from my boss saying, "Hey, can you go down to the location?" I'm going, "No. I got industry people in my hotel. Let me run downstairs and immediately do interviews with them, and I can get back and I can start doing stuff." So I did that. People didn't know that she had passed. So I'm getting that first reaction from them. I've got, what is it? Was it LA5? I'm listening to that. And so now for the next 24 hours, I'm doing reports for practically all the Rogers radio news stations. I did a 10-minute interview with City TV. Like, it was insane, but I felt like all the years prepped me to be ready to do that.
And you're 100% right. Yeah, you can't get there from here. Like, you have to go through that process.
Yeah. And I still had to cover the Grammys. The
Grammys, right.
Too, at the same time. So you're juggling both of these things. It was insane, but I feel privileged for being there to be able to cover it.
Now, Mike Epple always could do the two, like he'd be on the radio, he'd be famous for his radio time, but you would also, for example, I'm thinking of my neighbor Bojana, who knows him from breakfast television.
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever get offered or have an opportunity to be a television star at Rogers? I'm thinking City TV. Was there ever any room for Rudy Blair?
So, two things. One, they would ask me to do certain reports. In fact, you would see my report when Prince performed at the, was it still, no, it wasn't the O'Keefe Center. What was it? Sony Center for the Performing Arts.
Right.
So they would bring a camera down and I would, talk to people what they thought of the show and whatever else. There's also interviews with members of Led Zeppelin that I did interviews with. There's a couple that they would ask me, hey, can we double up on this? And the other thing is having my Rogers television show On the Mic with Rudy Blair that I absolutely loved doing that job. And I got that show because of the reports I did at the Grammys.
How long did you have that show for?
2 years. And it's funny because the first season, call it season, we only did 10 episodes. And I do believe the second one we did like 20 or 25 because it was just so popular. And it was a mix of, and the way we worked it was I would interview a big star, a big Canadian star, but the part I loved most was an unknown indie act. So people would come to see the big act or the big Canadian act and stick around to see who that new act was. And I absolutely loved that. And we would do it around Toronto. We would find a club or a restaurant, and it would be our main hub. So we were promoting local businesses too at the same time. And the thing I remember was in the second season, the biggest show on, it was on Tuesdays, was The Flash at the time. Our ratings was just as big as The Flash.
Okay, good for you, man. Good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. Now, you mentioned, just in passing, you mentioned RTNDA awards.
Yes.
Okay, for us normies out there, can you tell us what are RTNDA awards?
I probably got the letters mixed up.
No, that's the right letters.
It's Radio, Television, Digital Awards, I do believe, because it's been so long.
There's an N in there, but I guess maybe I could Google
national
this.
or
Sure.
not national or
maybe.
news. Could
News?
be news.
Yeah.
And basically, it's you submit your reports that you've done throughout the year, and it could be best newscast, best use of sound, best feature reporting, things like that. And excuse me, my thing was the first one I won was best use of sound, but the thing I was able to develop was winning a lot of best feature reporting, because something I really believed in, and I think a lot of people don't do this anymore because all they do is read the newspaper and do a story. Yeah. Come up with your own stories.
Right.
So I would
original content.
So the things I would win would be and most of them were regional. I only won one national. Most of them was like what happened to Canadian boy bands. And I would interview the past boy bands who I interviewed years ago. What are they doing now, kind of thing.
Like Before 4.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, Before 4 actually became opera singers out in Europe. So there you go. I did a story.
Soul Decision? Well, okay, there was a band, I almost said Serial Joe, but they're not a boy band. Shout out to Kim Clark Champion, okay, who did manage them actually at one point. But there's a band of name like that. I do kind of love the cut of this jib. Like, I'm going to bounce around a little bit here because I know while you're doing the entertainment and music reporting for 680, they win best... What did they win? The 680 wins like awards for best news talk station. Like these are Canadian Music Week awards.
Yes,
I suppose.
Canadian Music Week.
And so you're a big part of that.
Yes, because and I always give John Hinnon credit. He would always say that one of the big reasons, and Scott Metcalf.
I love Scott Metcalf. He's the reason I have this mic flash for 680 News was gifted to me by Scott Metcalf, who came over not just almost. I'm bringing this out here. This This is the Mike Flash for CJCL 1430 because he did an episode on the launch of the Fan 590, which was Fan 1430 first. But he also did an episode for the 30th anniversary of 680 News.
And I'm going to mention something about that. Okay. I'm going to jump around myself too. So they put this together, and I'm hearing it, and I'm like, great for them, 30 years, too bad I'm not there. Because Scott was the host of this, Scott actually put a story in that I did, and it was probably one of my most popular stories. And what happened with my friend Gordon Lightfoot, when Gordon Lightfoot supposedly passed away. And for folks who don't remember
he heard it on the radio.
So what happened was one of our business people said that they heard from, I do believe it was Chorus, that Gordon Lightfoot had passed away. So everybody's like, oh man, what are we going to do, Rudy? What do you want to come up with? I'm the one who's going, wait a second. Gordon Lightfoot, and we can talk about more if you want to talk about Gordon Lightfoot, because there's some great stories with him.
What a legend.
Well, but I'm going, Gordon Lightfoot and I are friends. Like, I got a cell number. If Gordon Lightfoot died, somebody would be calling me and letting me know. So I'm saying, let's not say, so we decide to
you got to corroborate this story.
Exactly.
Because you're a journalist.
Exactly. So we decide, put me on the air to say there's a story out saying that he had passed away, but it's not confirmed. So I start making phone calls, and I get Ronnie Hawkins, and I record him. I get him on the air immediately, and we're doing all this stuff live. And he said that somebody had called him that night saying that Gordon Lightfoot had died. So he went around saying that he had died.
So he's the source.
He's the source. And so now I'm like, literally, as we're going off and on, I'm calling him, trying to get a hold of him. Finally, I get somebody from his office or whatever, and they go, no, he just left the dentist's office or something like that. So I go back on the air. I'm saying, trying to explain what's going on. And then I say on the air, Gordon, if you're out there, I've been trying to call you. Call me. I go back into the newsroom, phone call in the newsroom. It's Gordon.
Wow.
And I'm like, Gordon, can you go on the air? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah. So we run in and we put him on and we go, Gordon, are you there? Yes, I am. Now, we had this.
Gordon, are you dead?
Are you dead? So now, the documentary with Gordon Lightfoot, there's a gentleman out in the East Coast or West Coast who said that they got him first to say that he had not passed away. Somebody else from another a Chorus radio station, said they got him first. I can turn around and say the same thing. I got him first. I always feel like I did get him first, but I just say now I was one of the first people to get a hold of him. But that was crazy. And going back to the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
Scott Metcalf added that in. I sent him a note going, thank you. I didn't think I would ever be heard on that. He said, that was a great moment for 680, so it was nice for him to do that. And 680.
He's the genuine article. Yeah. I got lots of time for Scott Metcalf.
Absolutely. But, if I want to go back with Gordon Lightfoot.
Yes, please.
Very quickly. I've had a wonderful relationship with Gordon. When I first met Gordon was on the rough side, and I didn't even think I could go near him. And one day I got a phone call, and it was him. I've told this story many times. And he asked me why I never interviewed him. And I said, I didn't think I could ever get an interview with you. He said, you want to do an interview? Let's do an interview. I said, when can we do it? How about tomorrow? I said, absolutely. I run in over the Scott, go, you're not going to believe this. Next day, there was Gordon in the, sitting there waiting to come into the office. And we sat down, we talked about 45 minutes, and he said he was a fan of my work, and he always wanted to know why I never interviewed him. Ended up getting the cell number. I've been to his home many times. Wow. So it was hard. It still feels heartbreaking when I think about him not being here. Such a sweet man.
I hear nothing but good things. The man sang on "Tears Are Not Enough" for goodness sakes. So Ron Hawkins is in there too, not the low Ron Hawkins, the one you talked to, spreading that rumor there. Reports of his demise are greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
That's the Rudy Blair. Yeah, great loss. I had a wonderful conversation with Dave Hodge when Gord Lightfoot passed away, where Dave remembered him and that was quite sweet. But you had your own personal relationship with Gordon Lightfoot. That's amazing.
Yeah, no,
That's
love
amazing.
him. Love him. If you go onto my website, you'll see, or even on my Instagram, I've got it pinned, an interview, one of the very last interviews I did with him.
There's a lesson in there though, and I need to take this lesson in myself, because there's a whole level of people I don't even try to get. Like, I don't even take. Sometimes my son, my 11-year-old, will be, I'll say, I'm going to see the Neil Young concert tonight, and he goes, have you ever invited Neil Young on Toronto Mic'd? Right? And it's like there's a whole stratosphere of talent that I don't even waste my time trying to get at, okay? I'll talk to the people who talk to those people. I'll talk to the Rudy Blairs, okay? And they can tell me, what is it like to talk to somebody like Gordon Lightfoot? But did you learn something from that? Like, hey, don't assume somebody's too big for Rudy Blair.
They can easily say no. And if they do, that's fine. But then you can end up running into them. Our guy, Neil. I still, I've never done a one-on-one with him. But I still remember several years ago at the Junos, where he was up for a couple of Junos. Now, for folks who don't know, there's 2 Juno Awards. There's the dinner one, where everybody and their whoever is going to win something. And it's usually the artist that a lot of people don't know about. And then there's the televised one, which is the big one.
Right.
The smaller dinner one, a lot of reporters don't go to. Now, our boy Neil was there for the dinner because he was up for a bunch of awards. And he won. And he showed up in the press room. There's like 5 or 6 of us.
Amazing.
And he didn't just answer questions. He stayed for like 10, 15 minutes. We're like, holy jeez. So we're asking all these questions. The next day, when all the reporters filled in the room, he never showed up.
So the lesson there is you got to be there, right?
Yes.
Half of it is being there.
Yeah. It really is. And have your microphone ready, and
Right.
always have standard questions, because you could run into somebody who you don't know. But if you do it correctly and ask the standard questions and listen to their answers, you can end up with a 10, 15, 20-minute interview because you listened to what they said. Don't ignore anybody just because you don't know who it is.
Get them talking and then react to what they say.
Exactly.
My biggest pet peeve in interview land is the set questions, and somebody will say something and they'll dangle that little thing. It'll just be hanging there. And then the interviewer moves on to the next question. When you need to elaborate or extrapolate or pick at that particular thread,
Exactly.
it'll take you down a whole world you didn't know exist. And that comes back, Rudy, to what you do, what I like you do this, and I'm trying to do the same thing. Creating the original content. It's so easy to Google and with the AI tools and regurgitate something that's already out there, but you got to seek the original content. And you know what, Rudy, you know this better than anybody. It's hard work.
It is.
It's hard work to uncover that nugget. I had snow in the basement earlier this year, and we started talking about, he started going off on 1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies because he said they were busting his style, because his Informer style, okay? And then he starts sharing the fact, the mind blow, he starts talking about Stephen Page as his first cousin, and he starts going, and there's a whole road you're going down.
Did not know that.
Yeah, no one knows it, but that's what I'm saying. I think now, if you Google it, you'll probably learn it, because now I'm the source for that, because I recorded that conversation. But somebody has to put in the work. So it takes a lot of things. Like Snow has to be comfortable. He has to be in the basement. He has to be answering your questions. And then boom.
You just said it, comfortable. It's that trust
Like
thing.
Avril and you.
Exactly. It's a trust thing, because these days there are too many people who want to try to go viral.
Right.
Excuse me.
Right.
Misinformation.
Right.
And then the questions they're asking, and I have gotten this from so many of the people who I speak with, when they see my name and they're going, oh God, I'm so glad that you're on this list, because they're asked the stupidest questions
Right.
that have nothing to do with what they're there to promote and talk about.
And do you find, Rudy, since we're old timers here talking about the way things were, do you find now everybody's looking for that social media friendly 2 minutes or less soundbite, and they don't realize that you can't get that 2 minute soundbite by having a 5 minute conversation with somebody. Like I've noticed, I'll get that 2-minute soundbite, but it takes me 90 minutes to get there.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And who's doing 90-minute? Who's doing the long forms? Like you're sitting down with Gordon Lightfoot for 45 minutes, and he's probably thinking, "Oh God, I don't remember the last time I talked to somebody on the record for 45 minutes."
Because these kids don't do, and I
Kids
call them
these
kids.
days, Rudy.
I can call them kids because I'm 61 years old. They think they're doing research. They're not doing research. I'll
They're
give an
Googling.
example. They're Googling. There's one particular person who I've already posted in the past saying that this person I am not very happy about. And this individual could be very good, but the individual is about themselves, not the people that they're talking to. And you can tell from the way the interviews are being done. And, you know, like just recently they did this thing where the artist came out and to do the interview with them, and they gave them two what was those Easter cream eggs or whatever?
Yeah, Cadbury
Easter
Easter cream eggs.
Yeah, they took them out of their back pockets going, "Hey, I hear you like this stuff." And I'm going to myself, "Oh my God, why would you do that? Not just on a red carpet, but you took it out of your back pocket." You know, and you're only doing that because you want to go
for the gram or whatever.
Exactly. You want to do that to go viral.
Right.
You know, it had nothing to do with the person. And I'm going to add to that. Oh gosh, what's her name?
Give me a clue.
Diana Krall.
Diana Krall. Sure.
Years
Mary
ago,
Elvis Costello.
when I interviewed her, I had on these sort of like eyeglasses, sunglasses, and I had them on because my eyes were bothering me, and it's too much light. And while we were doing a scrum, she looked over at me. She took the glasses off me and put it on her and continued. And then she gave them back to me. I always said years later that if I ever get a one-on-one with her, I'm going to give her those glasses. Got a one-on-one with her. And before the cameras were rolling or anything, I told her about what happened, and I gave her the glasses, and she was so touched. Then we recorded the interview. I didn't put it out there for everybody to know about. I didn't want to try to go viral or anything stupid. I just wanted to do that to be nice,
right?
Give it to her, and then let's do the interview. Now people are doing stuff just so they can go viral. Look what I just did. It's stupid.
It's stupid, but what you're doing is not stupid here. So on your drive here, even though it was 2 hours late, that it turned into a great convo. So on our way out, though, is there a story or anything you wanted to discuss, and you're now thinking, "Oh, he didn't bring it up"? That you can. This is like a free for all. Before I hit the closing theme. A highlight that you wanted to share, an interview you never thought you'd get that you got that was a big deal to you, or maybe is there somebody you're still like your white whale you're still trying to get that you've always wanted to sit down and chat with?
I'm always going to be wanting to sit down and chat with somebody. But I think the thing that I would like to point out is, the last 10 years have not been easy. I lost my brother, my older brother.
I'm sorry.
And now this all happened happened right after 680 and I parted ways. I like to say parted ways. Really, they let me go.
You were fired.
I was fired.
Tell it like it is.
So this happens in August. I lose my brother to throat cancer in December. Find out during that time my dad has heart disease, that we lose him a couple of years later. But during that time, in January, February, it was the first stroke for my mom, who, ended up with a couple of strokes and a heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm going through all of that. I went through 2 different relationships before I went into, I have the one that I have now, thank God. And the first one basically walked out on me because I wasn't Rudy Blair 680 News.
Wow.
The second one, I always felt bad because she came in the wrong time in my life, because I've had all these things going on.
Right.
You find out who your friends are. You find out who are not your friends, because they only want to be around when you're doing this and you're doing that. I remember when I got my job over at CBC to have a radio show, Big Country with Rudy Blair. The people who had not contacted me when I was let go suddenly were contacting me.
Right.
You really do discover a lot of things about people the industry, and yourself. I mean, financially it's been tough. I've had it at times where literally I'm not answering the phone. So, I got a creditor coming after me or something like that. Even mentally, you're just like, you just feel beaten down. You're going, man, do I even want to wake up anymore? But you have to always look at the far side of this. You got to look ahead and going, well, if I do this to myself, then I can't do this and this and this and this. And what if I can change this and this and this? You take that pain, you turn it into a positivity as best as possible, and you keep moving. I mean, the things that we talked about today, there are things that I never talked to anybody about. And it's only because right now, I feel really good about myself, and I feel good about my future. And I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying who I am. I'm enjoying the people around me. I'm honored to finally get on this show. And I'm hoping that you're going to do one with me on Rudy Blair Entertainment Media. So I'm calling you out on that. And hopefully you'll be on time.
You want me to pretend to be George Clooney, though?
There you go. Either way. But no, no matter how bad things are, life will change. You can keep things going and just be the best that you can. Respect the business and have fun.
And you're living proof there's life after the giant cable companies part ways with you.
Yeah, it is. But you know what?
You're in good company, by the way.
Always big love to them. Always big love.
Well, they gave you the opportunity.
Exactly.
So you're not so sad it ended. You're glad it happened.
Exactly.
Rudy, I got to say, you came, you saw, you conquered. Like, I feel like we really got to know Rudy Blair in this 95 minutes, and I'm not sure we could get to know you in 4 to 7 minutes. I'm glad that you gave me some real time. We had a real chat. I can't wait to take the photo by the Toronto tree, and you're going to get the Palma Pasta lasagna.
I can't wait for that. The tree. Yes.
Finally, when people Google your name, there's the tree picture. What are the odds? I feel like whenever we talk sports betting, I got to get Peter Gross involved. But what are the odds of you showing up at Palma's Kitchen on November 29th at noon to pop on the live recording, to pop on the mic and say happy holidays to all the FOTMs in attendance?
I'll be there.
Oh my God. Okay, you're doing that for the Palma Pasta, right?
No, I'm doing it for you.
Okay, Rudy Blair, you know what? Mysteriously mine. That's how I'm going to close this, because we had that awkward run-in the men's room at Mysteriously Yours, and here you are now. You're mysteriously mine. Thank you for doing this, man.
Thank you, my friend.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,776th show. It's an awfully American year, 1776. Okay. Are the Jays going to win tonight?
Hell yeah. That's why I got my Jays
How
hat
confident
on.
are you? Because that's 6-1 yesterday. I actually couldn't even imagine the Yankees battling back because they just looked so defeated, so humiliated. Those 2 games at the Dome were lights out. And then next thing you know, bam, we lost that game. But you're sure we're wrapping it up in, what would that be, in 4 games tonight?
Because New York right now is just overconfident, and the Jays are like, okay, that's cool. We gave you one. Now we're going to show you what it's all about.
Well, as a Leafs fan, I do not want a Game 5.
No, I agree with you there. Absolutely.
Get it done. Do what it takes. And it's a bullpen game.
Yeah, it is.
Eek. Okay, well, okay. Good luck to the Jays. I'll be watching. It's a 7 o'clock start. I found that game. I was exhausted before that game. I actually, it was 9-6, I think, after 8, and I fell asleep. Like, that was a late game for an old man like me last night.
And the Leafs, same thing, 7 o'clock.
Wow, yeah, that's the first game of the season, right?
Yes, yeah.
I'm a high-stakes man myself. I need the high stakes, so I'll be watching Jays tonight. And that... Have I done that already, Rudy Blair? You think I'd be a professional? I've already done all that. We'll do it again, okay?
Do it again.
And that brings us to the end of our 1,776 show. Go to TorontoMike.com for all your Toronto Mike needs. Say your website one more time, Rudy Blair.
Rudy Blair Entertainment Media, RudyBlairMedia.com.
Much love to all who made this possible. That is patrons like you. Go to patreon.com/TorontoMike and become a member today. Great Lakes Brewery. Rudy's got his fresh craft beer. Palma Pasta. I'm going to grab his lasagna before the tree photo. Nick Iones, welcome back, Nick. RecycleMyElectronics.ca, that's where you go, Rudy. If you have old electronics, old cables, you don't throw that in the garbage. You go to RecycleMyElectronics.ca, put in your address and find out where to drop it off to be properly recycled. Blue Sky Agency, thank you to Doug Mills. And Ridley Funeral Home, I'll be seeing Brad Jones in just a few minutes here. See you all. You mentioned the Rising Stars. I have an episode tomorrow like that. Her name is Hayden Ryan, rising star in country music, a young Torontonian. I'll be talking with her tomorrow. Don't you dare miss it.